Hey guys, SirVern back here, and today I am reviewing Toy Soldiers HD for the PS4, played via the PS5. So I'm going to go over the same 5 categories I always do: graphics, performance, gameplay/story, replayability, then fun factor, give them a score 1 to 10, average them up, and then talk about the game a little bit. So this is a strategy game. It's a real-time tower defense strategy game. Really, the whole point is to defend your toy box. It was that red building you saw previously, right there. All those circles you can see, you can place a unit or the little square sandboxes. So you get to choose different types of units that may be most appropriate for the certain spot to do the most damage. You can also control, note the plane crashing, um, unavoidable. I'm going to dock performance because of that. But anyway, um, you can take control of individual units like planes, tanks, even defensive structures like the mortar, the Gatling gun, anti-air, that kind of thing. So that's what the game is, strategy game, and I love strategy games. So I was super excited about this one. I got it when a physical version was announced. I pre-ordered it, so it's been out for, I don't know, maybe a year or so, and I'm going to get into why that's been an issue for me. But we'll start with graphics. So as you can see, graphics are not great. In fact, they're kind of mediocre to poor. I gave it a 5.5. This is on the same system that brought us like Spider-Man, um, God of War. So it is a remake of an older game. Never played that game, so I'm not quite sure what it looked like. But these graphics are nothing to brag about, so a 5.5. Performance. So you saw that plane take off and explode, right? I took control of it, and no matter what you do, it autopilots until a certain, altitude, and then you take control. So it just crashes. It's poor design choice. I don't know where to dock it, but performance. I think that it was just kind of, there's certain things that just like, was this game tested? Um, there wasn't a ton of bugs, but I did run into a few. Units getting stuck, menus not working. Here's another, so I just tried it again. Um, so just to see, I'm like, am I going crazy? So I'm trying to pull back, but just to give you control to right there, no matter what you do, you crash. So just weird design choices. Anyway, like quirky menus, like I said, units getting stuck. There was no game-breaking bugs or anything like that, so I gave it an 8. I did dock it a bit. Gameplay/story is my next category. I love strategy games, man. I wish more games like this would come out. I love tower defense games, especially real-time strategy games. And this game has, theoretically, I never did get to try it, but multiplayer, where each player has a toy box, and you're sending, I guess, different. You can see the waves on top um, that you send towards your enemy. I don't know if you have control of those waves. Like I said, I wasn't able to try it out because nobody's playing this game. Um, but the gameplay is pretty fun. You select what units you want where. You can see the little square and the circles where you can build units. So it's not a huge, there's, you can try different units in different places to see what'll do the most damage. Um, but there's not a whole lot of depth to it after that. There's maybe like 5 different kinds of units. You've got like the Gatling gun, anti-air, a mortar, and then the big cannon. So that's the only way I found to take off with a plane. You have to do one in the back. So kind of crazy. But so gameplay is pretty fun. Right here I'm trying to defend my toy box. They're getting through my defenses, so I'm going to manually drop some bombs on them. So it's a cool loop. It has endless mode, 18 level campaign, co-op, and like I said, online multiplayer, kind of. So it has a lot of different options to kind of spice it up. It has like a survival mode where you try to last as long as you can, and I think that's really cool. But the story is only told in like text form. You get like a brief summary of what the level's about, and I mean, I don't know if you even want to call them cutscenes, but kind of the story's presented, even though if it may be poor. So the gameplay is by far the better part of the gameplay/story category. So I give it a 7.5. If you like strategy games, especially if you like tower defense games, you'll probably like this game. Replayability. So this is where I'm going to dock it. Normally strategy games get a high rating from me because of the replayability factor. There's so many different ways usually to beat a strategy game. This one, however, there's only 5 units and only a select few places where you can build. There's 2 big units, anti-air, and those big cannons, and you can upgrade each unit to level 3. Once you've done that, other than rearranging placement and taking control of units to assist, that's kind of the gist of the game. I guess you can get better at controlling the aircraft, the tanks, and the individual units. But after that, you're repairing, selling units, replacing units with other things that are more necessary for the situation. Um, and the online multiplayer, I've tried it numerous times at different times of the day, and I was never able to find a game, which is super frustrating. Like, I know the game has been out for a while now. I need to look exactly when, but at least a year, maybe a little longer. Um, and I looked at the leaderboard, and the leaderboard has somebody, the number one guys, has like 500 and some odd wins. So it definitely was played at some point. But uh, that's why I almost nowadays I would prefer my games not to have an online mode, because one day it dies, and if you happen to get into a game after it's popular, then a huge portion, a huge component of the game is no longer available. So I'm gonna dock it here. That would add so much to the replayability, and a part of it's my fault. I should have got this game a long time ago, but it wasn't a physical game, and I'm just not interested in digital games. That's a whole nother video. But anyway, I did give it a 4, only because it does have a few survival modes, and it does have split screen couch co-op, which I really appreciate. I wasn't able to try that out, but the trophies are pretty good, actually. In this game, you have to achieve a certain rank in each level. General, I think it is. You have to reach a certain, like, I think level 9 in survival. So I love trophies like that. If this had a active community, online community, competitive, this would have been much higher. This would have also added to my fun factor category. But let's go ahead and get there. So replayability of 4. Fun factor. I reviewed this last night, and I just wasn't happy with the review because I got to this category, and I wrote an 8 initially. At first, I was like, man, this game is going to be amazing. It's a lot of fun. And then about halfway through the 18 level campaign, I realized I'd pretty much seen every unit you're going to get. And I was like, man, that's really kind of bare bones. I mean, a few of the tanks are, one shoots fire out the side, one shoots poison gas, and then another like a mortar shell out the side. So there are a few different units. I'm not trying to like just dog it completely. But about halfway through, you've seen most of the defensive structures you're going to have, and you've seen what the game is all about. Like I said, if it had multiplayer, I think I would have rated this higher. And I wrote 8. That's very high because I did have fun at first. About halfway through, I was like, man, this is going to be awesome. So I docked it another point. I gave it a 7. I had fun, but not that I don't mind a strategy game being repetitive, because you can master it. But this one is not very deep. Half the game's not available because nobody plays it online. So that kind of takes the fun factor down a bit to a 7 for me. So just to review, I gave graphics a 5.5, performance an 8, gameplay / story a 7.5, replayability a 4, fun factor a 7. Average those up, you get a 6.4 out of 10. And at the beginning, if you want to rewind, there was a tower and it showed a sniper tower, and you can take control of the sniper too and actually take out infantry units, which is pretty neat. So that adds a little bit, and it would be so neat, I guess, to play multiplayer, because you could, I guess it would, who places, defensive structures in a better place, who's better at manually controlling tanks and aircraft, that could be fun. And here you can see a boss coming up, and that's so neat. There's huge bosses that were fun. I mean, it is a fun game, don't get me wrong. A 6.4 is a super mediocre score, but there was things that just, I couldn't look past. But it does have a physical copy coming out, so keep an eye out for that if you like this game, and it's also for a bunch of different systems besides PS4. And then notes, I wrote, of course, the multiplayer. Not enough unit types, I agree with that. There should definitely be more defensive units. This is set in like World War I, but they could have been creative and added another one or two. And then not enough places. Like you see, you can only build in the circles or the squares. I think this should be, if you could build anywhere, but have a certain number of units to place, that would have made it so much better. That would have just given you so much more strategy, you know, different ways to place the units, and I think that would have been a lot of fun. But that's really all I have. It's not a great strategy game. It's an okay strategy game. It's not full price, so that's always a plus. You know, it's a cheaper game. I want to say like $30 brand new. But anyway, that's really all I have. Toy Soldiers HD is just decent. Try it out if you like strategy games. SirVern out.